People came in late. I know the girls' team got cut out early. Good luck in your scrimmage. But those of you guys who came in late, just do me a favor, put your phones down. Take your headphones out of your ears. You know, one thing that we learned, we of course went to high school 20 years ago, 20 some odd years ago. One thing we learned was respect. And one thing I'm going to talk about when I get into what the challenges that my family faces every day now is the impression you make as a high school kid matters. And one of the ways you can very quickly show that you don't think very highly of somebody is to have earphones in or your cell phone out when they're about to talk or talk to you. So I just request you guys do that and you pay attention. I think by the time I'm done, you will connect with the message, although hopefully none of you have to live through what I've lived through, but I'll explain it. I'm going to start with reading a quote that I put on the back of my Christmas card with my kids, so it's a little sappy, but you'll get it by the time I'm done. And the quote is, "Every trial endured and weathered in the right spirit makes a soul nobler and stronger than it was before." And that's the essence of why I'm here. That's the essence of what athletics can do. I want to thank Coach Butler and the coaches, many of which my coaches are the ones that coached me in high school right over here, along with my cousin Chris and one of my very good friends. Her maiden name is Carrie Fraser, one of the few All-American athletes that go through the school for coming, because they know how important this message is. Coach Butts asked me to keep this between 15 and 20 minutes, so I'm going to condense a lot of stuff into hopefully a short amount of time, so please bear with me. I'm here to talk to you about how being a Norseman impacted my life. And because of my background, I was able to do some things that I've accomplished personally and professionally, including handling disappointment, overcoming extreme challenges, and finding a whole bunch of different ways to be successful. Let me start by giving you a little context about me. I've been very fortunate to experience success in athletics. However, my success was really more from coaching than from actually competing. I was part of a very successful track program. I consider myself to be a major contributor to that program. I had some individual accolades and things like that. We were state sectional champions in Coach Turk's first year as head coach. We're all very proud of that. But those lessons led to my career, and the successes that I really experienced were in the professional realm. So what I'm going to tell you is that without the experience of sports, my wife and I would not have had the wherewithal to face the challenges that we faced every day. I'm waving to my good friend, your baseball coach, Mark Hauser, that's what that was. So let me talk to you a little bit about who I am. I'm a middle school principal. I'm a father of two. I'm a former coach. Over 13 years at Cresco High School, I coached 32 seasons. In those 32 seasons, 13 of them I was a head coach. For 5 of those seasons, my good friend Kerry was one of my assistants. During that time, we were 139-13. By the way, the longer I'm out of coaching, the better that record gets. So next time I do this, it'll be 150-2 or something. But track enjoyed 8 straight undefeated seasons. Track, when Kerry and I were together, we were 59-1. The only meet we lost was the second meet that I was ever head coach. We were twice named Bergen County Team of the Year, and as a result, I was recognized as Bergen County Coach of the Year twice, North Jersey Coach of the Year once, and the NJIC Coach of the Year 9 times. I don't really like talking about my successes as a coach, because lesson number 1 of this speech is humility. No one really wants to hear you talk about how good you are. But I felt it was necessary so that you guys can understand that I'm not up here BSing you. I've lived it. I lived it as an athlete in high school, I lived it as an athlete in college, and now I lived it as a coach. I didn't know any other way, so I apologize for that. All of that means nothing without Demorest. All of that doesn't happen without Demorest. NVD set the foundation for my future. I already touched upon this, but the next lesson is what you do in high school matters. The impression you leave, how you treat people. I do not get the opportunity to coach at Cresco without the help of Coach Butler. I don't know if you remember this. I coached under a man named Bob Valley, a Hall of Fame football coach over at Cresco. And when I interviewed for the job as a 22-year-old kid, Bob called Coach Butts, his longtime friend, and Coach Butts vouched for me. And he said, he's a good kid, give him a shot. So remember that. How you represent yourself now will matter. Lessons we learn mean nothing, and without NVD, I did not have the opportunity to apply those lessons. The lessons of my family. You heard Chris and I are first cousins. A lot of this comes from our grandfather. Mental toughness, grit, accountability, pride. The idea that your name is attached to everything you do. So if you act like a fool in school, you walk around the hallway, you are carrying your family's name with you. If you go to a sporting event and you get ejected because you have double technical or you do something silly, your family's name carries with you. Those kinds of things were the lessons of our family. But these things take time to develop. And I was not always as focused. The men in this room know me I've known Coach Butts since I'm 12. He could tell you that I wasn't always the way I am now. And I didn't always have those characteristics. But the most important lessons that I learned were how to come back from failure and how to face adversity. Without facing adversity, I am not who I am today. And without the ability to look adversity in the eye, I would not be able to stand in front of you. You need to understand something, that I am not the hero of this story. Far from it. Let me explain. I originally came from Staten Island. I moved to Haworth in the middle of 7th grade. At the time, I didn't understand. My family, Chris and my family, were blue-collar people. We come from immigrants. My father owned a butcher shop in Brooklyn before he went back into Wall Street. We learned that life could be difficult and you had to work hard. When we moved to Haworth, any of you who live in Haworth know, it's not exactly how you describe Haworth. My junior high school in Staten Island had 1,800 kids, mixed races, very diverse. Haworth in 1992 had 1,600 people and was not very diverse. At the time, I didn't understand it, and in fact, I hated my parents for it, but it was the single best thing my parents ever did for us. I don't think I am who I am now without that move. When I got to NVD, in my mind, I was going to be a baseball player, and there were no other options. Like my son goes to Coach Hauser's baseball fever camp now, Chris and I went to Coach Butts' baseball fever camp way back when. I worked hard, I took it seriously, but in the end, I failed. I failed at baseball because of myself, nobody else. It wasn't Coach Butts' fault, it wasn't Coach Meritz's fault, it wasn't Coach Camp's fault, it was Mike Pasciuto's fault. I failed. I made bad decisions. I didn't recognize at the time, maturity came for me much later, but it was the truth. 10% of life is what happens to you, 90% of it is what you do with that, or how you react to it. My initial reaction to failing at baseball was to make bad choices, to blame other people. But I also made one life-changing decision. I joined winter track. Originally it was to help train for baseball, but I had no idea that this decision would create my future. My entire life changed because of one decision. My career, who I became, my mental outlook, all because I joined winter track as a sophomore. All of that was impacted by this decision. Another lesson. What may seem as a minor decision may often become life-changing. The men that led that program, many of them whose names you will recognize, Coach Kirkendall, Coach Wally, Coach Turk, Coach D'Amico, and the legendary Fred McLean, all helped set up my path because like many of you, I didn't understand my parents were trying to do the same thing, or quite honestly, I just didn't want to listen to my parents anymore. Winter track taught me that I could be successful in athletics and I could see results from hours of extra work. I eventually became one of the most dedicated. Very often, Kerry and I would be the last ones in the weight room, or the only ones here during Christmas break running hills out the back, or Tank Hill over in Haworth, or White Beaches, for those of you who have been on that course. I was not the best athlete on the team. I am not any of the top 10s. My senior year, I just refused to be outworked. That was a big shift from my freshman year. If you get a chance, you can ask Coach Merritt. He was my freshman baseball coach. That was a very big shift from who I was when I was 14. All that extra time working out when there was no one around or just a few of us, being the one of the last ones to leave the weight room, doing the extra work on the track, it creates your future. I put Post-it notes all over my room. My friends used to make fun of me. They said, if you're bored, do push-ups. If you're bored, do sit-ups. I had no idea that I was cultivating a mindset. I was creating myself. Small decisions become habit. Habits become a mindset, and a mindset becomes a way of life. Every time you have a conversation with yourself and you decide to conquer that little voice in your head, you are establishing a mindset and a way of life. Slowly, you will create who you can be. Because of this effort, I was a major contributor on a league and state championship team, sectional championship. Achievements, like I said before, that matter more to me than any other. So why does all this matter? If I were you, I'd be asking that question. Why is this relevant to me? Here's just some other old guy who went through here. I'm not here to speak to you because I accomplished something incredible as an athlete. And I'm really not even here to speak to you because of my program's success. None of that. I'm only sharing that to set the stage for why it matters. So what's the connection? Why does learning that it's not your coach's fault matter? Why does learning that your parents need to back off and let the coaches coach matter? Why does learning to face adversity matter? Why does finishing that last rep matter? Why do lessons of the weight room, one of the greatest teachers you can ever have, the weight room, matter? Why does holding yourself accountable matter? And why does reflecting on your successes and failures matter? You see, people too often claim that sports are a metaphor for life. But they're wrong. Sports are not a metaphor for life. Sports are training for life. More specifically, through training your body, you are actually training your attitude. You learn 3 very important things when you are training as an athlete. 1, your mind can overcome any challenge you face. 2, you need support in order to do so. Those of you who think you can do it alone will ultimately not be successful. You have to analyze your results if you want to get better. So why am I here? I'm here to explain to you that being a Norseman was the beginning. And without the blessed opportunity to be a Norseman, I cannot tell you that my life, I would have faced my life in the same way. In the most difficult moments of my life, it was my experiences at NVD, overcoming failure, learning to deal with pain, the ability to push through and fight, that led the way. I'm not here because I was an amazing athlete, far from it. I'm here because I am 39 years old and a widower. Say it again. I am 39 years old and a widower. My wife, Deanna, passed away after a 22-month battle with cancer. My wife could have come here to speak to you about being a successful athlete. She was a regional All-American in college. She could talk to you about how the work ethic led to athletic success and led to her future. Deanna played high school at Morris Catholic, out in Morris County. At one point, they had won 8 straight Group 1 titles. This is back when the parochials and the publics were all in the same groups. They hold a record for the most state championships at 15. She was a star as a sophomore and a junior. She was heavily recruited and narrowed her choices down to Villanova, Delaware, and Lehigh. And then the summer before her senior year, she blew out her left knee and tore her ACL and MCL. She was a captain of that team. She missed her entire senior year and lost out on any opportunity to play Division I. Things were different back then. When you tore an ACL, sorry, my watch is talking to me. When you tore an ACL or an MCL, you had a year and a half of recovery. Carrie and I coached a young woman named Mary Masson who tore her ACL and MCL last year at Ivy League Championships. She got cleared yesterday to compete. That doesn't happen anymore. But Deanna fought back. She had a brilliant career at Stockton University. Her team was one of the best Division III teams in the country, and she won numerous accolades. By the way, if Deanna never gets hurt, she never goes to Stockton, and then our mutual friend never introduces us. Next lesson is the universe works in funny ways. Deanna can speak to you about being a superstar athlete and what it's like to reach that level. To be very clear, Deanna is the hero of this story, and this is the way I honor her legacy. The real reason I am here is to be an example about how athletics develops the mindset to be able to face mortality with courage and strength and tenacity and ultimately grace. And I'm going to tell you Deanna's story, and I'm going to get raw, and I'm going to go into detail. I hope our story inspires you to embrace the opportunities you have in front of you. And I hope when you go home tonight that whoever decided to raise you in this area, in this town, or these towns, go to this high school, you thank them. In March 2016, doctors explained to us that the pain in my wife's stomach was not a GI issue, it was not indigestion, it was cancer. They explained to us that Deanna's stomach was riddled with tumors. They told us that if we were lucky, Dee had 18 months to live if the treatment worked. Every day, from that moment on, my wife woke up facing her own mortality. So why does it matter? Why does being a Norseman matter? Why does my wife's background matter? After the initial shock, we looked at each other, and the message was clear without speaking a word, and it was, let's go. In our mind, there was no way she was going to die. If you knew my wife, you would understand that. Those in the room who knew my wife would know that. There was no way we were going to back down. There was no way we were going to quit. Fight or flight. One choice. Some people have said, and I get where they're coming from, but they say, of course that's how you reacted. Everyone will react that way. Another lesson. Don't pass judgment on someone until you're in their shoes. You don't know if you're going to react that way. But if you embrace the lessons that you learn as an athlete, you have a much better shot of reacting that way. I can be honest with you and tell you that some of the thoughts that came into my head at that time, I'm ashamed that I had those thoughts. But they're natural. They're normal. You learn that. It's athletics and that mindset I talked about that lets you get over those thoughts and lets you get back to what you have to do. So Dee and I went into attack mode. We looked for the best places for treatment, the best hospitals, go wherever we needed to go. We tried to figure it out. And that's what we did. We went everywhere. NYU, Sloan, MD Anderson in Houston, NIH in Washington, D.C. I even went to Tijuana, Mexico to meet with a cancer specialist about a year ago today, just to see if she can help my wife. Every step of the way, every disappointment, we dealt with it. We dusted ourselves off, and we kept going. Fighting, fighting, fighting. Never quitting. Through it all, Deanna showed tremendous courage, will, and grace. During last December, in the midst of a 9-day stay at Sloan, she continued to show me every day how to be beautiful inside and out. There was one night in particular, it was either the 4th or 5th night we were there. What I was doing was I was commuting back and forth to my job from Sloan. So I would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, I would drive to Wayne, I'd work out with Coach Hauser, I'd go to work, I'd leave work at 2 o'clock, I'd drive back to Sloan and do it all over again. While I was at work, my father-in-law would go into the city and spend time with his daughter. This one night, it was about midnight, and Dee noticed I could not sleep in this chair. The same chair I slept in every one of those 9 nights. And she says to me, hey baby, can I sit there? I'm tired of being in bed. I'm in bed all day. At this point, she was too weak to walk on her own. She's like, it'll only be a few minutes. So I said, all right, babe, but no hero bullshit. You're not going to let me sleep here all night. 4 hours later, the alarm went off. And I looked at her, and I said, you're a pain in the ass. And she looked at me, and she said, no, you haven't slept in days. You need your rest too. The kids need you. Imagine that. Facing her own death and weighing 90 pounds, a woman who was an extremely fit person, a woman who, prior to this, when she would get cancer treatments on let's say a Monday, Tuesday morning, or Wednesday morning, when we'd be downstairs in my basement working out, she'd be upstairs working out. Most people take days to recover. That next day she'd be working out. That same woman now weighed maybe 90 pounds. And she was worried about me and her kids. To me, that is the definition of mental toughness and compassion and grace. On December 20th of 2017, the doctors came into the room and they told us that she was going to have a treatment that's known as a PEG tube, which means they put a tube in your stomach that's attached to a bag so you can drain the bile in your stomach because she couldn't eat. What that means, if your food doesn't go through the system and the bile doesn't break down the nutrients, you don't get any nutrients. I'm sure you guys can put that together. If you're not getting any nutrients and you're sick, you're in bad shape. They said that it would improve her quality of life. Quality of life is medical code for you don't have a lot of time left. It's the same as when they say, we're just trying to make you comfortable. In the hallway, I pulled the doctor aside and I said, there was a lot more cursing than I'm going to do now, but I said, don't BS me. What do we got? What are we looking at? He said, you got 3 weeks. You need a miracle. I told him, go find an effing miracle. And I walked back into my wife's room. They told Dee that she should stay there over the Christmas break, and she looked the doctor in the eye and she said, I will be in my house when my kids wake up for the tree. Dee willed herself to come home. She had no business leaving that hospital. 7 days later, we were back in the hospital and they told us that there was nothing else they could do. My wife signed a DNR, which stands for Do Not Resuscitate. If something happened, she wanted to let nature take over. I sat in the corner of the room and I put my face in my hands rather, and I thought she quit. And I couldn't take it. I did not understand, because I was wrapped up in my own feelings, how much courage that took. She didn't just sign that DNR because she was tired. She signed that DNR for all of us. When the doctor left the room, it was the first time during this journey that I saw fear in my wife's eyes. It was only the second time in all the years I was with her I ever saw fear in her eyes. She said she was terrified. I hugged her and I said, so am I, baby. It had been a long 4 months. In October, before that, the night before my youngest brother's wedding, Deanna went to NYU to have approximately 4 liters of fluid drained from her stomach. Think about that for a minute. Okay? 4 liters of fluid drained from her stomach. So just so that she could attend his wedding. Our family has talked about that often, about how grateful we are for that night, because it was the last time that we all got to dress up and party and dance and be together. And we have great pictures and memories from that night. I will always be grateful to her for that. Again, toughness personified. On December 27th, when we came home, we were very upset. I carried her up the stairs to our bedroom like I had done for all the months before that. Again, imagine that. A beautiful, strong, athletic, fit woman, unable to walk up the stairs. We woke up the next morning, I looked at her and I said to her, "Let me save you. But you have to promise me you're going to follow the plan. And if I'm too much for you, tell me, and I'll back off." Mainly because of my experiences here, and as a coach, I had full faith and confidence in our collective ability to overcome the situation. One of the things that athletics can teach you, whether you're a superstar or not, is that when you have a certain mindset, you can achieve anything you want to achieve. I know logically that makes no sense, that the doctors at the best hospitals in our country and across the world said that nothing could be done for my wife, but I believe that I could save her. I know it doesn't make sense, but it was a belief I had in myself. All we had to do was get her healthy enough so that she can get to Sloan for another trial. The treatments that I went to Mexico to bring back, the diet plan that we learned about from German nurses and doctors, the Chinese herbal medicines, that's all we had now. We had no choice because the other option was quitting. Over the next 2.5 weeks, Deanna gained 14 pounds. She stopped draining fluid. Her appetite increased. Her energy increased. She got stronger. She could walk better on her own. I joked with her as I carried her to bed that I kept calling her a fat ass because she was getting heavier and heavier, and that when we're in her 50s, she's going to have to push me around in a wheelchair because I'm going to have no knees and hips left from carrying her. She got better. Together, and with the help of her family, she got better. We were doing something that no medical professional thought was possible. Pure will got her better. On January 13th, she spent hours making a birthday cake for our daughter. And on January 14th, she put together a great party. On January 15th, our daughter's birthday, would be the end. So why does it matter? I was with Deanna when she passed her blood clot. I saw the look in her eyes. I will never forget that look. The visiting nurse came and said, "It's not going to be very long, you should call your priest." So why does it matter? I had to call my children in our bedroom, one of whom it was her 5th birthday, and tell them Mommy was going to heaven. A few hours later, surrounded by family and friends, my wife took a deep breath. The color drained from her face, her skin got cold, she was gone. 38 years old. And as you see in on TV shows and in movies, I kissed her on the forehead. I closed her eyes. They actually opened again. I had to close them again. And she was gone. What you don't see on TVs and movies, and what no one talks about, is what happens next. What happens next? The police come. Ambulance arrives. Morticians show up. And then they take your loved one out of the house in a body bag. No one prepares you for that. But if you adapt the mindset that you can overcome any challenge, then in the moment you can overcome the challenge. No matter what it is. Even as gruesome as that. It matters because as I said before, as you train your body, you train your attitude. It matters because you are training on how you're going to react when life comes at you. It matters because the mindset allows you to react and act calmly and stay in control and to face your situation. It matters because I believe that my wife's courage and strength were furthered by athletics, and I believe mine were as well, both in competing and coaching. And for me, it started being a Norseman. When you have one more rep, or it's a very hard workout, or your team needs a play, or whatever, know that these small moments add up and they prepare you for life. Most importantly, the conversations in your mind as you overcome the more difficult moments. And you all know what I'm talking about. When you feel you have nothing left, when your legs are gassed and your lungs are burning and you can't push any further. Those conversations in your head, when you say, I can do it, and you do it. And even if you fail at it, you still gave it a shot. That matters more than anything else. They prepare you for life. Not everyone wins. It's not your coach's fault. Good luck, girls. The journey matters more than the result. Do you run from adversity or do you run towards it? Failure is life's best teacher. During our worst moments, when there was seemingly nothing left, we relied on this mindset and attitude to keep fighting. In the end, we couldn't fight a blood clot. In reality, my wife was exhausted. Deanna had given everything she could for 22 months. In her last act of kindness, as weak as she was, she knew that I would never be able to live with myself if I didn't give it one more push. I never understood depression or feeling like you can't get out of bed until my wife died. There were a few days when I just wanted to lay there. And then I heard her voice. Get your ass up. And every time I got up, and I got out of bed, and I stuck to my routine, I meditate, I work out, and then I take care of my kids and whatever else I have to do. Athletics taught me to deal with that adversity. I will also share that I make a conscious effort not to drink when I'm having a particularly bad day. Instead, I demand of myself that I face my thoughts and emotions head on. Meditation taught me this. You can try to quiet the voice in your head by making bad decisions, or you can run toward the challenge and fight it. You can accept that the thoughts exist and then let them go. It's called being present. It's called the mind of an athlete. Some advice. Write your goals down and make a plan. Otherwise, they're just dreams. People don't chase dreams. People chase goals. Do something every day to work toward those goals and make yourself better. Have an attitude of gratitude. I am blessed that I had the opportunity to be a Norseman, and I am grateful that I got all the time with my wife. I'm a better person because of that. And I'm a better person because of her. Listen to your coaches. Every day, take care of your body. Work out. Diet the right way. Work on your mobility. Take care of your mind, whether that means meditation or prayer, whatever works for you. Find balance. Put down the phones. Have a conversation. Go outside and do something. Get away from the video game systems. Decompress. Handle your business. Right now, your business are your goals and being a good student athlete or a great student athlete. Take care of that every day. You need to let your body recover. If you're playing 2 sports in a season, a club sport or something else, and you're training multiple sports in a season, you've been lied to. You've been lied to. The club industry and all that is up for one thing, to make money. They've lied to you. If you are training somewhere else while you're in season, you're not getting better in either of those two. You may not realize it now, but it will catch up to you. You have to let your body recover. This isn't the philosophy of a coach, this is science. I've seen it. I did it myself. My college career ended because I was playing rugby while I was running track. So when I popped my hamstring playing rugby, was I any good at track? Couldn't walk, couldn't practice, career over. Not many people have the courage to say that to you. I no longer coach, I can do that.
Hold yourself accountable. If you are not successful, figure out why, make a plan to fix it, and get after it. Don't blame other people. Never, never, ever be afraid of asking for help. And listen to people who have experiences behind your own, because there is knowledge out there, and you're foolish to think if you know everything. And be compassionate. That's missing today in a lot of places. I'm a middle school principal. I see it every day. Be compassionate. You don't know what anybody else is dealing with. There's a saying in Buddhism that goes, no mud, no lotus. It means that in life, we often go through difficult times to get to something beautiful. Our story, Deanna and my story, matters because it's a testament of the opportunity you have in front of you. I'll say it again, never give up. Rely on others. Understand that every day you can get better. Learn from your mistakes. Reflect on your decisions. Hold yourself accountable. Push through the difficult times because each one is training you for life. There's a great quote that says, the end result of resilience does not mean the journey will be quick and easy. I do not yet know what lies ahead for my family. My kids are 8 and 5, about to be 6. But I am confident of one thing. Whenever my time is up, I will be able to look back on my life and know that all of this led to something beautiful for my kids and I. And while I don't know what that's going to be, that's my focus. My focus is to create that life for those kids because they deserve it. And I deserve it. My time at NVD and the career it led to prepared me for life and what it became. Don't waste that opportunity. Like I said before, if you need help, ask. Coach Butts knows how to find me. There are adults all around this room and in this school that care. Just ask for help. And as you move on from here, remember, once you are a Norseman, you are always a Norseman. And you're lucky to be one. Good luck with your winter season in the spring. Thank you.